What is up, YouTube world? It's Jay Coffee Talk back again with another video for you guys. Got a hip hop blog for everyone out there, and we're talking about Eminem speaking on the GOATs of hip hop in his opinion. Now, what's going on is YouTuber No Life Shaq, you know what I mean? I became familiar with him probably the same way, a lot of other people out there in the YouTube world did. And that, is from him doing reactions. I've seen him do a lot of Eminem reactions, reacting to his videos that blew up, man. The Eminem Bang joint with Conway, I remember watching that reaction he did. It was like huge, got crazy views. But anyways, he hopped on Twitter and said, who's the greatest rapper of all time? And I believe he added a whole bunch of different rappers. And Eminem actually responded to him and said, for me, in no particular order, toss up between Wayne, Pac, Royce, Jay, Redman, Treach, Cool G Rap, Biggie, and King Crooked Eye. So I just kind of wanted to tap in and see what, everyone out there, all the hip hop fans think, and, about Eminem's statement here, what you think about Eminem, and, kind of go over his interactions with some of these GOATs of the rap game. Now, Eminem, I've covered him in a lot of different videos on this channel as far as hip hop goes. The discussion when it comes to Eminem is always kind of split. There's a lot of people who love Eminem, and respect him as a legitimate one of the greats of the rap game. There's a lot of people who kind of say, yo, M's dope, but he's kind of a pop artist to me, but I do give him some props. Then we also kind of seen a lot of people say, I rock with Eminem, but I don't necessarily identify with his music, or I wasn't really listening to his albums like that. You know what I mean? Even though I respect him, what he does as an MC. So off the rip, Lil Wayne, what do you guys think about the tracks that Eminem did with Lil Wayne? I remember on Forever, that joint with it was originally from like that soundtrack about that basketball movie about LeBron James. You had Eminem, Kanye, Lil Wayne, and Drake. So on that track, man, a lot of people, everyone always debated who had the hottest verse. Eminem went in on that one. A lot of people was feeling Ye's verse, Wayne. They all had dope verses on there. But I remember there was a discussion going on, if you guys recall, on Eminem's verse. It definitely sounded like he was coming at somebody. He was dissing someone. And a lot of people felt it was Lil Wayne because he had some bars on there about, he ain't had a buzz since the last time his cup overflowed, or, you know what I mean? Like the lean and all that. And a lot of people felt he was talking about Wayne. But I believe it ended up being Gucci. I'm not positive, but I remember feeling like it was Gucci as well, because Eminem, I believe was taking some shots at Gucci because Gucci got on the Mariah Carey Obsessed remix. But Eminem and Wayne ended up going on to make a couple other tracks together. That Dropped the World on Its Head joint was all right. And that No Love, where they sampled that Hadaway, Don't Hurt Me, that joint, they both, it was hard because they were both flowing so fast. Like, I don't know, I was messing with it, you know what I mean? But from what I understand, Wayne and Eminem ended up developing a pretty good working relationship. But let me know, what you thought of their collaborations together, which one you thought was the dopest, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Tapping in them comments. Want to hear what you guys think about everything that I touched on in this video. Now let's move on to Tupac, right? You seen Eminem name Tupac there on this tweet, and we already know Pac, when it comes to hip hop, definitely maybe the greatest of all time. I mean, but he's always gonna be in that top five discussion. We always know Pac and Biggie is gonna be in there no matter what. And when it comes to Eminem and Tupac, something that was kind of wild to me was that, Eminem ended up executive producing the Tupac Resurrection album, the soundtrack, and I believe he did the Loyal to the Game album as well. Now, there was always the question out there, and I definitely want to know what you guys think. If Tupac was indeed alive, would he work with Eminem? And I don't know, that's interesting. I feel like they probably would have collaborated at some point, but who knows, you know what I mean? But like I said, I want to know what you guys think. But it was wild to me, that he ended up executive producing that Tupac Resurrection album. I remember seeing how Eminem won over Afeni Shakur, and she ended up allowing him to executive produce it, and ended up being happy with the work that M did. Now, what do you guys think of Eminem as a producer when it comes to the beats? One of the beats that I've heard a lot of people say Eminem's beats all sound alike, and I'll definitely say Eminem does have a similar sound with a lot of his beats. One of the beats that I love that M did off the 8 Mile soundtrack was that Jay-Z and Freeway joint, 8 Miles and Running. But anyways, getting back to what we're talking about here with Tupac, Afeni Shakur, I think Dre had a lot to do, with her helping win her over and allowing M to produce that soundtrack. And, a track that was on there that I really, really liked is a track called One Day at a Time, where it's Tupac, the Outlaws, and Eminem. And, it was hard. I feel like he did a pretty good job executive producing that soundtrack. And the Loyal to the Game album, I mean, it was all right. But, with a lot of these albums after Pac, passed away, whoever's producing them, there's only so much Tupac verses out there. And, a lot of people with the Loyal to the Game album didn't really like, all the different artists that we were seeing collaborate. Like, we seen 50, Obi Trice, Jadakiss, all these people, collaborating with Pac, which, is cool, and they're dope MCs. But I just seen a lot of people kind of saying, would Pac really have worked with all these guys? And, I don't know. It just a lot of the Pac albums after his passing, what they did, like I said, there's only so much Tupac's vocals out there, and at a certain point in time, it ends up kind of just sounding played out, I guess we could say. You know what I mean? It almost feels like leave the legacy of Tupac alone. But the Tupac Resurrection soundtrack, I definitely thought was dope. That Running song, like the first single off of the soundtrack, I thought M did a pretty good job taking, those Big and Pac verses in that rock song that they sampled for the hook. Why am I fighting to live if I'm just living to die, or whatever? Like, I thought it was a pretty dope track. Y'all let me know what you guys thought about that. But the Eminem Tupac Outlaws joint, One Day at a Time, I rock with that. So let's move on to Redman. Okay, Eminem and Redman, we've seen, got a lot of love for each other. They always, sing the highest praises of each other. They ended up collaborating on the Nutty Professor 2 soundtrack. They had that song Off the Wall. It was pretty hard. And, I remember seeing a conversation before between Eminem and Redman on the phone. It was on some podcast or something on Shady 4-5, where they were putting together some kind of like hip hop museum. And I feel like they used the door from the Marshall Mathers LP cover where Eminem used to live. And I remember Eminem was talking, or vice versa, or Redman was talking to M about it, about, putting different items in this hip hop exhibit. And, they just, you could tell they got a good relationship. And, you know, to even go a little further, before Eminem was really famous, you know, before the fame, Eminem had a strong relationship with the Outsidaz, who, you know, are also from Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. And, you know, they're tight with Redman and Eminem. And I believe Bizarre went out there with them as well. And they did a lot of dope music together on the Slim Shady LP. Eminem shouted out the Outsidaz a lot on that one joint where he said, "Outsidaz, baby, and we suing the courts because you know we dope as F and only get a 2 in the source." And, you know, I ended up seeing later on, though, that the Outsidaz, a couple of them dissed Eminem, or one of them dissed Eminem. You know, I don't know if he felt like M didn't show him enough love after the fame or what it was. You know, I just know, you know, prior to the fame, these dudes really rocked with each other. And I remember seeing the Outsidaz shout out Eminem on an episode of Cribs. One of them had like an ice cream parlor, and they, you know, had all the flavors named as like different hip hop artists, and like there was some kind of vanilla flavor that they named after Eminem. And they talked about how Eminem at one point in time used to like sleep on their couch, you know what I mean? But I don't know if they ever pieced it up and are cool, what exactly the deal is with them now. But, you know, that the Redman, you know, was really tight with these dudes as well. And I've always just seen a very, very strong relationship between Eminem and Redman. And I recently heard Charlemagne the God say, you know, in a recent video that I covered when he was talking to Fat Joe, and Eminem, you know, was the topic of discussion. Charlemagne the God was saying that if Eminem were black, he would be Redman, basically. That, you know, that they have a lot of similarities. And I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. And that's going to lead me in to Treach. You know, whenever Eminem is asked about his favorite rappers, he always, you know, Treach is always brought up in that discussion. And there's, you know, footage and interviews out there where you can hear Eminem talking about growing up listening to hip hop. Because, you know, one thing about Eminem, whether you like Eminem or not, you could tell that M definitely was like a student and a historian of hip hop, that he truly loved the music and really got into it, and, you know, studied the way people's syllables and wordplay and everything. And he always mentions Treach. And a couple people that I rock with, Young Veterans Podcast is one of them, and a couple other people I've heard say Eminem kind of stole Treach's flow, or like implements a lot of what Treach does in his own music. And I would agree with that. You know what I mean? Now, I believe he named Royce the 5'9" and Crooked Eye in this discussion as well. And we already know, you know, Em and Royce, their relationship. You know, I'll probably at some point in time want to do a video just on Eminem and Royce and Bad Meets Evil and everything. But, you know, these dudes go way back, freestyling on the Lyricist Lounge, you know, performing in Detroit together. You know, Em trying to get Royce signed early on and linking him up with Dr. Dre, and the relationship kind of went sour because Dre didn't like something that Royce the 5'9" said. And it later on led into a beef with D12. And then through beefing with D12, you know what I'm saying, Eminem and Royce kind of fell out. But, you know, we know they've pieced it up. You know what I'm saying? They put out the Bad Meets Evil project. From what I understand, Bad Meets Evil 2 is coming soon, hopefully. And, you know, Eminem brought Slaughterhouse over to Shady Records, which didn't exactly work out the way, you know, the people, the hip-hop fans like myself exactly wanted to see. And, you know, there's that Glass House project that is still shelved indefinitely. We don't know if it'll ever see the light of day, but nonetheless, Eminem and Royce go way back, as well as Crooked Eye, you know, who we mentioned in this tweet as well. You know, he came over to Shady Records with Slaughterhouse, and, you know, M and Crooked Eye definitely, you know, got a tight relationship. I did a video that got, you know, pretty good views for my channel back when the Eminem Nick Cannon beef was going on, how Crooked Eye stood up for Eminem. You know what I mean? Crooked I stood up for Eminem. And, you know, because Nick Cannon said something along the lines when people were tweeting and saying, yo, you better be careful, Nick. Don't let Eminem get Slaughterhouse involved. You got the Black Squad from Wildin' Out in your corner. Don't make M go and get Slaughterhouse and Joyner Lucas and everything. And Nick Cannon made a comment saying, yo, M don't even got no friends. He don't mess with them. And Crooked I, you know, stood up and said, yo, not only do we mess with Eminem, he played some new music from a project, like a group that Crooked I was working with, and was like, yo, Eminem helped produce that. Eminem Marshall was in the lab with us. Watch what you say. Eminem's got friends and family. We're family. I think the project also was called Family Values, but he was like, yo, that's my man. So, you know, don't ever trip and think Crooked I and Eminem ain't tight. Now, Cool G Rap, I could go on and on talking about how dope Cool G Rap is, but, you know, I'm just going to kind of mention that M mentioned Cool G Rap. I don't know that they've really interacted, you know, in the rap game themselves. But the two MCs on the list, or that, not necessarily the list, you know, M just said these are in no particular order, but that he mentioned in this tweet is Jay-Z and Biggie. So first off, let's talk about Jay-Z, okay? I thought it was a really dope thing for hip-hop when we got to see Jay-Z and M collaborate on Renegade. And I just mentioned on the 8 Mile soundtrack, Eminem produced the song 8 Miles and Running, which was Jay-Z featuring Freeway. But anyways, Renegade, it's become, you know, like it's a hip-hop quotable from the Jay-Z Nas beef on Ether. Nas said Eminem murdered you on your own ish. You know what I mean? And a lot of people felt, you know, that M did indeed murder Jay on that track. Who do you think had the hotter verse? You know what I mean? And I've always was hoping we'd see, I believe M and Jay did collaborate on another track or two. I'm not positive, but nonetheless, I wanted to see more collaborations from these guys. Classic song, Renegade. And a lot of people don't know, Renegade was actually originally like a Bad Meets Evil Eminem and Royce track from way, way, way back from before the fame. You know what I mean? Eminem hit up Royce and was like, yo, you mind if I put Jay on this joint? And I don't know, if I was Royce, I would have felt some kind of way, because they could have put Jay's verse on there and kept Royce's verse on there as well. But I will say, for how dope an MC Royce the 5'9" is, his verse on Renegade was just kind of, he was messing around, like he wasn't really going in, you know what I mean? It sounded a lot like Eminem's verse on Dead Wrong, which brings me to the last artist we're talking about, Biggie. As we know, same thing with Pac, you know what I mean? Eminem, Big is always going to be mentioned in the GOATs of hip hop conversation. The first two names is always going to be Biggie and Tupac. But, you know, when Eminem got in the rap game after the Slim Shady LP, but before the Marshall Mathers LP, we know Diddy put together Born Again, which I thought was a pretty good, you know, it's the same kind of thing we're talking about when I was mentioning Tupac's albums earlier, that, you know, a lot of these later albums after artists pass away, people ain't necessarily feeling them a lot of time when they put together these collaborations. But I'll say the Born Again album, I thought was dope, okay? But later on, when they released that, the Biggie duets, I was not a fan of that one. You know what I mean? There was a couple tracks on there that I rock with, but for the most part, I was not feeling that album at all. But on Born Again, I rocked with it. And, you know, Eminem was featured on Dead Wrong. Now, that track is wild. You know what I mean? Even though obviously we know Biggie had already passed away, the way Diddy put that song together, it really felt to me like M and Big worked on that one together. Like, it's a dark song. The lyrics are almost, as we know, you know, Eminem did a lot of horrorcore music. You know what I'm saying? Which a lot of Detroit artists did back in the day, you know, where they're talking about crazy stuff, killing people, getting high, like off the wall stuff. And on that song, Big's lyrics were so just evil. You know what I mean? It was almost like a horrorcore song. And Eminem's verse on there was hard. Even though he's talking about some crazy stuff, the way he spit that verse was kind of wild. And I always like that song, you know, Dead Wrong. Y'all let me know what you guys think about that collaboration, you know. And I remember hearing an interview once where Diddy was talking about the different artists on the project Dead Wrong. And when he reached out to Eminem, he mentioned how like ecstatic and happy Eminem was to be, you know, considered and reached out to be on Big's project. Like it was such an honor to him, you know what I mean? But that's all I got on this one, guys. Just wanted to go over, you know, the GOATs to Eminem that he mentioned in this tweet, and you know the way that M rocked with them, and just different interactions they've had and stuff like that. So tapping in the comments, let me know your thoughts on everything I mentioned in this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. It's J Coffee Talk, blogging sports, music, news, life, current events, and much more. Let's talk about Eminem's you know, tweet, the GOATs, and everything I talked about, y'all. Look forward to hearing what you guys got to say in them comments. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.